There's this pretty famous quote by old Hollywood actress Audrey Hepburn in which she states that people, even more than things, have to be restored, renewed, revived, reclaimed, and redeemed. And I think that this quote is a perfect example of how much we understand our own humanity through the very fragile nature of stuff. Because it is my personal belief that all things that have a form are destined to experience the hardship of time. We see this in the natural erosion and reformation of land masses. Streams can become rivers, and boulders can become rocks, which may become silt. In a landscape that could be shaped by ceaseless wind, the trees will grow up towards the sky, but they are swept and twisted on their way. So much so that even on a rare windless day, they may still look as if they are being held by it. And our things and ourselves are no exception. Stairs can become worn as generations carve a single path over and over again through them. Or our dishes may become chipped, and mugs may lose their handles. Oftentimes, where a break happens in the ceramic is indicative of a structural weak point. This can be a result that comes from the hands of the original maker, or it can be correlated to the materials that are used, or it can simply be architectural in nature. Coffee mugs are notorious for losing their handles because the points of connection between the handle and the body of the mug itself is naturally weak. Plates often fragment into 3 pieces when they're dropped because of how the force on impact can distribute across the shape. And in teacups, it is very common to see chips on the lip of the cup because of the wear and tear that comes from the repeated action of lifting the cup to our mouth and ever so slightly knocking the lip of it against the edge of our teeth. I like to call these kiss cups. But whatever the case may be, it is impossible to look at these breaks and not see that they are the result of the natural risk of existing and of being exposed to the indomitable element of time. Which is why I believe that it is through the action of restoration, of revival, and the redemption of things that we ourselves are saved by them. During his Gladlands campaign, comedian and famed dungeon master Brennan Lee Mulligan tells his players, "You make a cup once and then wash it 1,000 times. The labor of a cup is not in making it. It's in continuing to care for it." We may not think much about washing a cup every day just to use it even one more time, but inherent to it is a stewardship, a role that we quietly and often unconsciously assume for each thing or person that we bring into our life. And that stewardship is what leads us to build little rituals born of habit. At the altar of our lives, we offer the labor of preservation, of consideration and care to even the most mundane things, and we are gifted in kind, tokens of our own humanity. Whenever I'm talking to somebody for the first time about practicing Kintsugi, I am often met with 2 reactions pretty consistently. The first is a general acquisition of coolness, like, whoa, that's pretty cool, because objectively, Kintsugi is cool. But the second, and this one always manages to catch me by surprise, is why? As in, why not just buy a new one? And of course, after being exposed to the many different philosophies and cultural perspectives of Japanese lacquer artists, tea masters, and ceramists, the answer would feel very obvious to me. However, I can remember a time where it would have been my first instinct to look at something that had been flawed or broken and think to myself, time to get a new one, I guess. So where I think it would be very easy to receive a question like, why not just buy a new one, with a bit of offense, I have realized that what people are really looking for in this situation is just a little bit of context. And the context is love, because on the other side of love is grief. I have often said that love is taught to us through the lesson of grief. Not always, but often. We receive love from those who have already known loss, and we, in turn, love because we have seen the ways that the persistent march of time takes from us. Summers are beautiful because winters are hard, but winters are precious because they hold us safely inside. Love is always carried in the arms of grief, and grief contains all the love that no longer has a clear place to go. And so, we become sentimental, as grief is wont to make us. That sentiment is what leads us to the habit of care. In every instance that I have ever assisted on a Kintsugi workshop with my teacher, it has never failed that someone would bring in an item that on the surface could have been very easily replaced at the store with either an exact or like a near exact replica. Yet, simply could never be replaced by the sheer truth of who or what that thing had come to symbolize. Even keeping in mind that these items were being brought in already broken, they were already fractured or chipped, the coffee mug of a deceased loved one, a trinket tray gifted by a friend. I would say at least a handful of these things were items that you could have found at any big box store, yet they were not only purposefully stored, but they had been kept safe despite traveling and household moves long before there was ever an opportunity presented for these workshops. Again and again, I am reminded through the action of repair that I am human, that I, just like these things, can be reclaimed, restored, and redeemed. And that over and over again, I am reshaped and carefully held together by the many hands of those I have ever loved and all that I have ever tried to preserve.